You know, he lied his way to millions of dollars, served just 22 months in a comfy prison, and then Hollywood made a blockbuster movie about it all. This is the absolutely wild story of Jordan Belfort, the guy who scammed America, got rich doing it, and then sold that exact story right back to all of us.
So, let's just start with this quote, right from the man himself. It pretty much perfectly frames the whole story we're about to unpack. Is he confessing? Or is he kind of pointing the finger right back at the rest of us? Well, we're about to find out.
All right, so our story kicks off in Bayside, Queens, back in the 1960s. We're talking a working-class neighborhood, a place filled with mostly modest dreams. But there was this one kid, Jordan Belfort, who had zero interest in being modest. He didn't want a piece of the pie. He wanted the whole bakery. And let me tell you, the hustle was in his blood from day one. When he was just 16, he cleared $20,000, selling Italian ices one summer. Later, he actually enrolled in dental school, but on the very first day, the dean told the class, if you're here to get rich, you're in the wrong profession. So what does Jordan do? He stands up and walks right out. He wasn't there to clean teeth, he was there to make a fortune. His next idea, a door-to-door meat business, went totally bankrupt, but in that failure, he found his real calling.
This is where he had his big aha moment. Yeah, the meat business failed, the product was bad, but he realized the problem wasn't the product. The problem was the payout. He figured out he had this superpower. He could sell literally anything to anyone. All he needed was a product with a much, much bigger commission.
So with this new superpower unlocked, he headed straight for Wall Street. He got a little taste of the money, the greed, and then, boom, Black Monday, October 1987. The market crashes and he gets fired. But while everyone else was running for the hills, panicking, Jordan Belfort saw the opportunity of a lifetime. He stumbled into the world of penny stocks, what the insiders called pink sheet garbage. I mean, these were tiny, completely unregulated companies that no legitimate firm would ever touch with a 10-foot pole. But they had one, let's call it, magical quality that was like a siren song for Belfort.
A 50% commission. That's insane. On legit Wall Street, you're lucky to get a couple of percentage points. Here you got half the money. You could use the same sales pitch, but the reward was 10 times bigger. And you didn't need a fancy degree. All you needed was a phone and a serious lack of conscience. This was the rocket fuel that would build his empire.
And just look at how fast this all went down. He gets fired in '87, and by 1989, he and his buddy Danny Porish have already created Stratton Oakmont. By the early 90s, it wasn't just a company, it was an absolute explosion. They weren't hiring guys with MBAs, no way. They were hiring college dropouts, local hustlers, basically anyone who was young, dumb, and hungry for cash.
The whole thing was built on a lie from the very beginning. I mean, the name itself, Stratton Oakmont, was completely made up to sound old, prestigious, trustworthy, right? But the reality? Oh, it was a chaotic office in a strip mall with flickering lights where the only rule was to close the deal no matter what you had to say or do. Okay, so the boiler room is built. It's staffed with these hungry closers. Now it was time to perfect the machine, the scam that would make them all unbelievably rich. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how they pulled it off. The scam itself was, well, brutally simple. It's a three-step process. First step, accumulate. Stratton would secretly buy up huge amounts of some worthless penny stock for next to nothing. Second step, pump. An army of brokers would hit the phones using these high-pressure, scripted lies to create a massive artificial buying frenzy. And the third, final step, dump. Once the stock price shot up from all that fake hype, Belfort and his inner circle would sell all of their shares at the peak, making a fortune and leaving their clients holding a completely worthless bag. Now, to keep this machine running 24/7, Belfort created this insane, cult-like culture. It was basically a carnival of greed. Top sellers were showered with Rolexes, sports cars, wads of cash. But if you were an underperformer, you were publicly shamed. And the drug use? Wow. It wasn't just common, it was part of the business model. Quaaludes to calm the nerves, cocaine to get you amped up to get back on the phones. They literally had office parties where people were snorting lines of coke off the company's compliance manuals. You can't make this stuff up.
But here's the thing about an empire built on pure chaos and fraud, it's just not built to last. A house of cards like that is going to fall, eventually. And by the mid-90s, the very things that made Stratton Oakmont so successful were starting to tear it apart from the inside out.
The cracks started showing everywhere. The SEC was getting buried in complaints. Major newspapers started sniffing around. Internally, the drug use just spiraled out of control.
To hide all that cash, they set up this massive international money laundering scheme with Swiss bank accounts. And right at the center of it all, Belfort himself was just completely unraveling, crashing his Ferrari while high, crashing his marriage, and eventually literally sinking his super yacht in the middle of a storm.
But while all this insane chaos was unfolding, someone was watching, quietly. FBI agent Gregory Coleman didn't just see a few red flags. He saw a massive criminal enterprise. He could smell blood in the water. So he started, piece by piece, building his case, tracking the money, and getting the evidence. The hunt was officially on. So, when the whole thing finally came crashing down, Belfort was looking at up to 30 years behind bars. But here's the thing about a great salesman. He always has one last pitch. Cornered, with no moves left, he decided to sell the only thing he had left: everyone else. So, how did this all shake out? Well, Belfort flipped. He cut a deal with the FBI, wore a wire on his friends, and gave up his employees. Over 30 of them were indicted, and some of them actually served more prison time than he did. And what about his victims? They lost everything. Retirement funds, college savings, their homes, all gone.
I mean, just look at this disparity. It is staggering. He was facing 30 years in federal prison, but because he cooperated, he served just 22 months in a minimum security facility. He was ordered to pay back $110 million to his victims. To this day, he's only paid back a tiny fraction of that.
And this really brings us to the two completely different endings to this story. For his victims, the story ended with financial ruin and a lifelong struggle to recover. For Jordan Belfort, it was just the beginning of his second act. He wrote a best-selling memoir, which, became a huge blockbuster movie, and now he's a global motivational speaker, teaching his sales techniques to sold-out arenas around the world.
So, we end right back where we started. He didn't just get away with it, he monetized it. He turned his crimes into a brand and sold it to the world. And maybe the most unsettling part of this whole story is that we, as a culture, we bought it. Which leaves us with one last big question. Why are we so fascinated by the wolf, and why on earth do we still applaud?